Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep into one of the coolest tools that authors use to make their stories really sing. We're talking about literary motifs.
You know that feeling, right? When you're reading and you notice the same image or idea popping up over and over again, and you just get this little tingle, this sense that there's something else going on just beneath the surface?
Well, you can trust that instinct. They absolutely are leaving you clues. They're called motifs, and honestly, the best way to think of them is like a breadcrumb trail, one that's been laid out for you on purpose, leading you straight to the heart of the story's real message.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to define these literary breadcrumbs. Then we'll untangle them from themes and symbols, because that gets confusing. After that, we'll get into the real power of repetition, check out the different kinds of motifs, and wrap up with why spotting them is a total game changer for you as a reader.
Okay, let's start at the beginning of the trail. What exactly is a motif? Let's get a nice, clear definition down.
So, a motif is any element, and that could be an image, like a storm, an idea, like betrayal, or even a situation, like a journey, that keeps showing up throughout a piece of literature. But here's the key part. It doesn't just repeat for no reason. Its job is to help build and develop one of the story's main themes. So remember those two magic words, recurring and relevant.
All right, now we get to the part where people can sometimes get a little lost in the woods. Motif, theme, symbol, these words get thrown around a lot, sometimes all together, but they are very different things. Understanding the difference is like learning how to read the signs on that trail. First up, motif versus theme. Just stick with our analogy. The motifs are the breadcrumbs. They're the actual concrete things you can point to on the page. The repeating clocks, the constant mention of rivers. The theme, that's the destination. It's the big, abstract idea that those breadcrumbs are leading you to, like mortality or freedom. Motifs are the building blocks. The theme is the whole house they build.
So what about symbols? Well, a symbol is like a symbol signpost. A dove means peace. It can do that all by itself, in one appearance. A motif, though, a motif is the repetition. It's the entire trail. A single clock might just be a symbol for time, sure. But when you see clocks and hourglasses and hear characters rushing against deadlines over and over again, that whole pattern becomes the motif, and it gains this incredible power through that repetition.
So, let's dig into that a little more. How does this trail actually build meaning? Because the magic isn't just that it repeats, it's how it repeats, and what that does to our understanding of the story.
And this quote just nails it. A motif is not a static thing. The first time you see a mirror in a story, it might just be a mirror. The second time, maybe it reflects a character's vanity. But by the 10th time, it might have grown to represent a fractured identity or the conflict between appearance and reality. Each time it shows up, it adds another layer.
You could almost watch it happen in 3 stages. First, you get the initial clue. A single clock appears, and you think, okay, time. Then step 2, a pattern starts to emerge. You see more clocks, but you also notice characters talking about getting old, you hear about all these deadlines, and that leads to step 3, thematic weight. Suddenly, that pattern is heavy with meaning. It's not just about time anymore, it's a full-blown motif pointing straight at the theme of mortality. So, what do these breadcrumbs actually look like? Well, they come in all shapes and sizes. Authors have a whole toolkit of different types they can use to weave their stories together.
You've got your image motifs. These are the ones we can see, like the constant contrast of light and darkness. There are situational motifs, like plots that always involve a journey of exile and return. You'll also find conceptual motifs, which are recurring abstract ideas like fate or isolation. And you can even have linguistic motifs, where a specific word or phrase just keeps popping up for emphasis.
And this is one of my favorite ways authors use them. They tie motifs directly to characters. Think about a character who is always shown near water. At the start, it might suggest they're pure or full of life. But as the story goes on and they face challenges, that water might become a stormy sea, representing their internal chaos. The motif grows and changes right along with the character, giving us this incredible window into their mind. So all of this brings us to the final, and maybe most important question. Who cares? Why does all this literary detective work actually matter? Well, the answer is that it completely transforms the way you read. Seriously, when you learn to spot motifs, you're no longer just a passenger on the ride. You're in the driver's seat. You start finding all this hidden meaning in subtext. You can connect a tiny detail from chapter 1 to a huge event in the final chapter. You get to see the author's deliberate craft, how they built this world piece by piece. It makes you a more active, more powerful reader. At the end of the day,
It's about appreciating the story as a complete work of art. You start to realize that nothing is there by accident. Every little piece, every repeated image has a purpose. It all fits together into this beautiful, intricate puzzle.
So, the next time you pick up a book, keep your eyes peeled. Look for the patterns, the echoes, the little clues left behind just for you, because now you know how to follow them. The only question is, what breadcrumb trail will you discover next?